bring it through fast raps and critical state.
Welcome back. You are in the clutches of the Colonel Hector Bravado. This is number 2 in our series looking at Nazdreg of the Orks in my Warhammer 40,000 Conquest retrospective. In our last video, we got to meet Nazdreg himself, that's him down in the lower left, and his signature cards. Today we're going to look at the whole army and some of the ideas, such as they are, that make it run. Here I have the deck separated into signature cards. In the foreground, those are army units. Then in the row past that, supports, attachments, and quite a bit of events at the top. And we'll talk about why I did that in a sec. First, anything I want to try to do with this deck runs on an 8-card economic backbone. In play, I figured out that this is really the spine that makes the whole thing run. If I get decent distribution on these cards, I'm going to be able to do almost any of the other dependent schemes. What are those cards? 2 copies of Bigga is Betta, which lets me deploy orcs and bring them out fast at a reduced price, albeit with a little damage. Then we have this character, Crush Face. If I sent him to a planet, first of all, you'll see with the 2 hammers, he's got 2 command icons, so he can win a command struggle or 2 for me. And secondly, he's got a neat ability that he's a beachhead guy. So any orcs that follow him on there, I get to deploy at a discount. So if you don't uproot him, he can establish a formidable force for me. And then the rest of the economic spine, 2 cost reducers. The Big Tooth Banna and the STC fragment for getting out orcs and elites. So, I talked before how Nazdreg is a frontline warlord. That means that ability he has to give his units the ability of brutal, he's got to be there at the planet, in the, where the shooting is happening, for it to have any effect. Now there's frontline warlords and there's support warlords. Frontline warlords are sort of at a disadvantage because their movements are going to be more predictable. If there's a high-stakes battle coming up, you can be pretty confident that I'm going to have to send my warlord there in order to get the benefit of his tactical or combat ability, which means he could be hit and bloodied and maybe taken out of the game, and I can lose that way, which is why we've also brought along 3 packs of frontline Ard boys. When these dudes are there, they're a damage sponge. They just get right up in your ass, and you can't shoot at anyone else on my squad while they're still standing. Then also, I have a couple copy of Runts to the Front. Orcs bring along lots of these little gibbering, green, room temperature IQ jihadis, grots, grunts, snotlings. They can operate machinery. They can feed war beasts. They can be fed to war beasts. And as the case with Runts to the Front, you could just pick one up if you're a bigger, stronger orc. Just throw them into the line of fire to protect somebody. In this case, Naz, because he has to show up at a lot of battles. I put 5 cards in there specifically for protecting him. So what's up with snotlings? Now, as you see, my ranks are filled with lots of bruisers. But I have another 5 cards in this deck. The Big Shoot Battle Wagon, which is an elite and not a great deal for first line combat at only 4 hit, 4 attack, 4 defense. However, look at that interrupt. When this unit is destroyed, 4 snotlings pop out of the wreckage. And I also have 2 copies of Snotling Attack, which lets me just spawn 4 snotlings of my choice anywhere I want. Now, they only have 1 defense and only 1 attack. Not too impressive. But boy, is it demoralizing if you can combo them with some of these events. Battle Cry, expensive event. Look at that in the upper left corner. Costs 3 credits to run. But every orc unit you control gets +2 attack. That includes your snotlings. So if you have a little horde of those guys, all of a sudden they're punching way outside their weight class. And, oh yeah, if you have a squig with a mouthful of explosives and you want You need people to guide it to the target. Snotlings will do it for you. They're not exactly sure what's going to happen at the end, but by the time the explosion happens, it's too late. Mission accomplished. So we have things that capitalize off the appearance of snotlings, and then I also have things that capitalize on the fuckery you can achieve with Nazdreg's flash gits, like we covered in video 1. Look at that. In between combat turns, I can give them a damage, stand them up so they can shoot again, which is why we've included some cheap attachments I can put on them. Rocket launcher, which gives them ranged, which means I can use them to hit twice in ranged. If my opponent doesn't have ranged, that's going to be some early fire they can't stop. And the huge chain chopper, plus 4 attack. It's so big and unwieldy, it says you can't ready the unit between combat rounds during the combat phase. It's so big and heavy, they swing it once and then spend the rest of the battle just trying to pick it back up. But there is nothing on that card that says you can't ready a unit within a combat round. So my 4 flash gits can become extremely lethal if they come up in my hand with any of those 5 attachments. And then, of course, let's just talk about one power combo we've got here. The Commando Sneakers and the Squigoth Brute. Look at the Squigoth Brute there. Cost 6 to deploy. 5 attack, 9 defense. Oh, look at that. He has Brutal all by himself, so he doesn't even need to wait for Naz to get the ability that lets you add taken damage onto your attack value. Look at that. Takes 9 to kill. So if somebody hits him for 7, he's striking back for 16 damage. There's not a lot of units. They're going to figure out how to stop 16 damage. Plus, look at that. He wipes out keywords. It's really demoralizing. I've been playing in the past games against John or Major Dunworthy, where if you get one of those out on the table, you can actually see your opponent's shoulders slump a little bit, because they know that if they don't have the right cards, there's just no getting rid of this guy without a really high cost. But here's the thing. If I attack with him and he's exhausted, God forbid I have a Commando Sneakers in reserve. Look at that. They have the ambush ability. I deploy him. Boom. When they arrive, they stand the Squigoth back up. It's really demoralizing. Now, if Nazdreg and his crew are up against a deck that has heavy area effect, that can just wash the battlefield with fire, get rid of my snotlings, or has lots of just too many tricky warriors on the field, they can be beat. But in a classic toe-to-toe slugfest, you're going to wear your ass out. Anyway, that is look number 2 at the entire build for Nazdreg of the Ork faction. We're going to come back in a bit with video number 3, in which we're going to deal a sample flop of 5 planets. I'm going to draw 7 cards out of this deck and see what Nazdreg would do. All right?